You always led me to this message today with understanding, before we can get to the end of the road and understand that, still we got to understand who we are and our behavior or characteristics, so to speak. And the characteristics are Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach shows us 9 characteristics of who will be blessed, or rather 9 declarations of blessedness, or of who will be blessed. They're sometimes referred to as the 9 blessings of Mashiach, which is not necessarily accurate of how it's worded, because when you say he's blessed, it sounds like he's blessing somebody for the sake of it. Rather, these are the characteristics that receive the blessing. And so when we have that understanding, it makes things a lot more clear. So we'll continue on with this. So sometimes it's also known as the Beatitudes, which cannot be found in the scripture. But it does mean the joy of heaven or a declaration of blessedness, especially as made by Yeshua. Now, these are great verses to pray over when you're going through trials and tribulations on a daily basis. First, we'll read through these 14 verses and then expound upon them. I usually just read upon them and then go back or touch on them as I'm going through. But today, I want to just go 1 through 14, read it, and then go back and expound upon it and gravitate towards the fullness of what is being said here. Matthew 5, chapter 1 through 14. Matthew 5, 1 through 14. And these are characteristics of our personalities. These are the kind of personalities that we should have. Just let me know when everybody's there. Give me a signal. And we will continue onward. Hallelujah. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a high mountain. And when he was set, his disciples, or taught ones, came unto him, and he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Elohim. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of Yahweh. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you, when men shall revile you and persecute you, and say all manner of evil against you falsely, for my name's sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt should lose its flavor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is therefore good for nothing, but to be cast out and trodden under foot of men. You be the light of the world, a city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Cannot be hid. These are some powerful things, but too often people misinterpret what Yeshua is saying here. So we want to break this down and get this. Let's jump back to verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. What does this mean? How are you poor in spirit? You got a wretched spirit that's... well, what's going on here? Well, the only way to extract what is really being said is to delve into the lexicons and Strongs and concordances and gather what the manuscripts tell us that the word means. So the word poor in the Greek 44:34 means this: a beggar, as cringing, that is a pauper, strictly denoting absolute or public mendicancy. Can also mean distressed, poor. Now this is a very powerful thing because we really need to think of it. Mendicancy means the condition of being a beggar. A beggar is somebody that doesn't have much, if anything at all, except the clothes on their backs. So let's take a look at this verse with some of these definitions. Blessed are the distressed, the beggar, the cringing, the pauper. We get an idea now that is somebody that is humble. It's not somebody that's prideful. It's not somebody that's arrogant. It's not somebody who has $1 million bank account or a $10 million pearly white smile, like some of these televangelists spouting off all this, we need your money. But rather, it is the humble spirit, the humble being, the humble person, the humble personality, the humble characteristics. Somebody that is at the bottom of the totem pole. Somebody that's not saying, hey, hey, look at me. But somebody that's saying, hey, please, be with me, guide me, strengthen me. Somebody that is humble. And Yeshua talked about that. Who Yahweh heard for praying. He says, have mercy on me, a sinner. And this is what he's pointing to here. Somebody that is distressed. Somebody is begging you, help me, be with me, forgive me, strengthen me, and whatever else your prayer may be. So these is talking about being, as we get into the next verse, next couple verses, it leads into being meek and humble. Somebody that's begging for attention, begging and pleading. Say, yeah, I'm over here, yeah, please help me, hear my prayer, guide me, strengthen me, give me wisdom, knowledge, and discernment. Not somebody that's loud and proud. Verse 4, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. You might say, might scratch your head and think, well, gee, I'm mourning all the time. My bank account's dwindling. I got $5 in my pocket. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. You know, you could be in a situation like this. People could be mourning for somebody that is dying and this and that. I mean, there's different avenues, you could say, for how deep somebody is mourning. And in this day and age, I think even doctors and some lawyers are even mourning because somebody's pinching us everywhere. But we need to take a look at this word as well from the next verse here. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Now these two words run close. Mild and humble, from the Greek 42:39. So we see people that mourn, people that are sorrowful. Gee, I'm sorry, I sinned against you. I sinned against this person. Gee, I feel terrible at what I done. Please have mercy on me. That's being, to the next verse, 5, that's being meek, that's being humble. That's being mild-mannered. That's somebody that has a contrite heart, contrite spirit. The meek are the people that are humble, and is the humble that shall inherit the earth. Verse 6. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. What do you think he's talking about? Being filled with a Pepsi Cola? Of course not. It has nothing to do with physical, materialistic things. And if anybody ever thinks so, he's talking about being filled, your bank account, and these kinds of things. They better get in the scripture and search them deeply. Because if you think Yahweh cares about materialistic things when he owns all these things, you're wrong. Talking about being filled with truth in the righteous spirit of the Ruach HaKodesh. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness. This day and age, you look in the news, you hear different people speaking, and all these things that's happening with these conspiracies and these whistleblowers that are coming out day after day. It makes you want to pull your hair out and say, is there any righteousness left? Is there any righteous? And like Sister Glant was just talking about from Daniel, would he not destroy the city for the sake of 50 men? I mean, we're getting dwindling down here. When you look in churches, you look in neighborhoods, you look in communities, you look in the states, you look in the countries, the country itself and the world, people are dwindling right down. 100 years ago, people were more righteous than they are now. People are more wicked than they ever have been in history. And you say, how, God, did you not send some fire and brimstone on this demonic country of America? How do you not chew her up, spit her out? And we can only come to, he said, sends the rain on the just and the unjust. He's got to bring about his final will. And he's got a plan. So we can't go on those lines thinking that, but it's easy to say, yeah, give them a spanking, whoop them up, shape them up. But now's not the time. When he does, it's not going to be good. There'll be a point of no return. But now is the time we have to understand these characteristics of the royal priesthood, the kingly sacerdotal order of the royal priesthood, which what that means, as we recall back from a few weeks ago, we understand these are the characteristics that we must have. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. This is why I'm so lenient on people and things, even when they do me wrong, is because, let me tell you, I want a 10-mile wide gap getting in that door. I want to have some extra give and take space for when I come through. Because I tell you, all the sin and things that I've done, I want y'all to say, oh, you've been merciful to them? I'll be merciful to you. You've done righteous by these people, even though they haven't by you. I'm going to do right by you because you would ask me. And it's a three-way street. I'm doing the right thing to others. Rather, they're doing right to me is neither here nor there. It's up to me to do the righteous thing. Yah's going to reward me for that. Now, then, or both. However, that reward will come in due season. I can't worry about that, sit around and think my bank account's not getting bigger. I need a bigger car. I need a new car. I need all these things. Better get your mind on the spiritualistic things, for a better term. Be mindful that Yahweh's a spirit, and they who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth, as Yohanan says. So from there, we need to gravitate towards these are not physical things that we do. These are not tangible things that we can just grab a hold of, like our computer or a bottle of water or something like this. These are things that how we live. These are principles, characteristics that we must have. And so with the next verse, verse 8, blessed are the pure in heart. You say, pure in heart? Gee, you start talking about virtuousness and pure of heart and things. But again, we must be born of the Ruach. Must be born of the Spirit. You will not enter the kingdom of heaven. That is how the mind gets cleansed. The heart is the mind. Purify that mind. People go around thinking all kinds of devious things. Sometimes I'd be traveling with somebody and they'll tell me what's on their mind, and I just want to jump out the door. I want to open the car door up and just jump. Wish they had an eject button, because sometimes the things that people say, I really got to wonder how many demons you got in you, buddy. You know what I mean? Because you start thinking from the human point of view, the carnal point of view, you start thinking, well, I don't want to think too much into it. I got to get this done and like this. And then people start saying stuff, and then you're like, wait a minute. How did I get into this mess? But again, merciful, and that's a hard thing to do. It really is. It's a difficult thing when somebody's standing in your face, calling you all kinds of vile names. It's hard to be merciful. You know, that was a time when I would have whacked somebody right across the floor, waxed their hind end, would wax the floor with their hind end. But now, I can't do that. I can't live like that. I can't be that old me. I can't be that person that I was years ago. That old person had died, and, you know, I follow Yeshua HaMashiach, and that is where we all need to be, is to follow him righteously and justly. And I see that guy didn't want to hear about no Yeshua. Well, maybe. But anyway, let's continue on with Matthew 5 and 8, as it says, pure in heart. The mind is the heart. He's certainly not talking about the blood ticker. It's what's in people's minds. And as I said before, as people start talking, you can get an understanding where they're from. Are they, how many demons are in them? How many kinds of vileness are they spewing? Or how much righteousness are they trying to interject? Are they searching? Are they seeking? Do they care? Do they want to have an understanding of who is who? And there's Christians that come to me and they say, oh yeah, you know, you're right. And sometimes I'll say, well, I don't like that. And in a year or two they'll come around and then they'll say, well, you know, you were right. My pastor said, and it took you this long to realize, wow, you know, but people want to hear it from whom they want to hear it from. They want to hear it from the pulpit because they're used to having the pit that'll pull you right in the pit. And it's easy to do. People want to be spoon-fed. But let that not be any of us here today, because it is up to us, as we looked at last week, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. It is up to us. It is up to us to make sure I take every thought captive, like Shaul says. It is up to us to say, as individuals, gee, I got to get that thought out of here, you know. And what did Yeshua say? Get thee out of here, you know. He gave him no scripture, told him, do not tempt Yahweh, and that's that. And resist the devil, and he will flee. When you take it, and you let that seed, as Jacob says, James says, when sin is conceived in full bloom, it brings forth death. I can't think of where it is off the top of my head, but if somebody could and they wanted to look that up and post that, that would be wonderful. But that is the point, is that starts right there in the mind. And if we let that mind run rampant, and hey, you know, that's just a thought. But Yeshua showed us, just because you don't break the commandments physically, doesn't mean you're not guilty, because he wrote them on our flesh, the heart, the mind. They're within us. Now, which is harder, because, hey, it's just because I don't show you that I'm angered by somebody, doesn't mean inside, not burning with anger. We can't see these things from other people sometimes, but Yahweh can. And it is that Yahshua shows us, unless it is for just cause or righteousness, we cannot be angry at a brethren. Let's say brethren, if I remember correctly, it is. So the commandments, we cannot infringe upon them internally. And that's how we stay pure of heart. You say, oh, gee, the Shabbat's coming, and, there's just, it's a burden and this and that. We start thinking like that, you might as well just broke the Shabbat, as far as that's concerned. When we start thinking, gee, thank you very much for posting that, James 1:15. Then when lust has conceived, it brings forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, brings forth death. Thank you very much, sister, for posting that. Lust, it starts where? In the mind. Certainly it's not the old blood pumper of what we're talking about here. It's the mind. Blessed are the pure of mind. So that is an important thing. For the pure of mind shall see Elohim. And as the sister was just talking about earlier, the plurality in there of Elohim is plural. Although one, and this is where Christians get it all kinds of wrong. I just posted on the radio station within the last week or so the topic of Trinity, and showing how that's such a false teaching. But people rather say, go to school, spend thousands of dollars for these seminaries, and they get indoctrinated, and they don't know the scripture. And this one mad minister that I knew, he told me years ago that it took 2 years to go through verse by verse. I'm familiar with going through verse by verse. And to break it down accurately, it's not going to happen in 2 years. Not when he was telling me about studying doctrines and topics and things of that nature. So that tells me there's a problem. So for those just joining, Shabbat Shalom, Brother Michel, good to have you. Talking about, right now we're in Matthew 5:8, about blessed are the pure of mind, for they shall see Elohim. We're going through the 9 characteristics that Yahshua tells us about, or rather 9 declarations of blessedness. Messiah shows us 9 characteristics of who will be blessed. And these are characteristics and attitudes that we need to have ingrained in ourselves. And if we don't, we need to say, Yahweh, where coming Yahweh, show me, lead me, guide me, strengthen me, fix me, heal me. So let's skip down to verse, or let's take a look at Matthew 18:3 for just a moment. Matthew 18:3. 18:3, Matthew 18:3. And said, surely I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. This means that we need to be as innocent as children. Innocent as children. Now if that don't strike a chord in you, let us consider Philippians 2:15. Philippians 2:15. For just a moment. Philippians 2:15. that you may become blameless and harmless, children of Elohim without fault, in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. We're children to Yahweh Elohim, and we shine as lights. Lights in the world, individually, collectively, both. And as we get down to 14, we'll discuss that a little bit more. Thank you very, very much for posting that. We must be blameless and harmless. Pure of heart means pure of mind. And that means we must be blameless and harmless. And harmless as not being different thing when you're protecting yourself. It's another thing to go out to harm others. That's being harmful. That's not being defenseful or defense on defense. To defend yourself, that's a different thing. So just want to touch on that now, in case somebody hears this at a later time and they go all kinds of sideways and thinking it's not what it means. But harmless is be as wise as a serpent, but gentle as a dove. Back to Matthew 5 in verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of Elohim. Again, children of Elohim. This is a constant through the Brit Hadashah, is that we're known as children when we follow him, when we obey him, when we ask him to cleanse our heart and mind from all unrighteousness, to purify our minds, bodies, and our whole being. You know, my prayer when I start thinking hostility towards people who do me wrong, I say, Yahweh, cleanse my heart and mind and body, mind, heart, soul from all unrighteousness. I cover it all. I want the whole being, head to toe, in and out, to be sanctified, cleansed. The whole enchilada, the whole deal, cleansed. Shalom makers, peacemakers. When you're working for Yahweh, trying to bring his word and trying to instill peace in people's lives, that's a big thing. That's a superb thing. We know that Yeshua also says, do not think I come to bring peace but a sword. We talked about this so many weeks ago. Now the sword, the word, brings division. Now this, some might think would be contrary, but saying, hey, here's the word, leave it at the doorstep. That's all you can do. Instead, somebody's going to want to rattle your cage. It's easy in the flesh to want to grab a hold of them and rattle their cage. Not so. Rather, no, well, I just want to share that with you. Have a nice day and, be gone with it. Be done with it. Don't let it rock your boat. Don't let it sink your battleship. Because if it rocks your boat and sinks your boat, you could be heading right towards the pit, quick, fast, and in a hurry. So we want to make peace with our enemies and with the world, not with ourselves, first and foremost with Yahweh. With brethren, first and foremost. First and foremost with them. And anybody else, Yahweh will do the rest. And that is that. To be going out and trying to make war, a lot of Christians love war. They love it. There's a time for peace, there's a time for war. I don't disagree, but there are some people that just are so bent on it. And this is where they should be peacemakers, saying, no, brother, don't look at it like that. We should be trying to show them their inadequacies and bring it about like that. When they said, let's bomb them, we got some big bombs. Again, it is better to try to, yes, Hebrews do too, absolutely. And it's better for us as Hebrews to follow and make peace with each other quickly, because the Hasatan can get right in there and he'll start working that craftiness. Well, who do they think they are? You know, somebody's got something to say to me, they say it. They say, you mad now? No. You're going to take a lot more than that to rock my boat. Truth is truth. And, you know, if it's not truth, well, what do I got to be upset about? If it's truth, what do I got to be upset about? Peacemaker. Peacemaker, brethren, right there. Peacemaker. Not pacemaker, but peacemaker. So we need to be mindful that it is easy when somebody's flipping their lid, and it's easy to, the enemy is coming after us. It is easy to, somebody's, you know, saying vile things. It's easy to want to just rattle their cage, as I say. But rather, step back and say, no, peace, man, I'm gone, I'm out of here. And leave it at the doorstep. Leave it like that. Because Yahweh, when you turn it over to Him and you pray for them, it is just like heaping lumps of coal right on their head. When He takes care of it, your hands are clean. And you're in good standing. When you try to take it upon yourself, well, bomb them, well, shoot them up, blow them up, smack them up. You know, it's a different story. Somebody kicks your door in and they're trying to do you harm. You know, you've got to defend yourself. You ain't to sit there, despite what people think of the brick cottage, to sit there and, okay, you pillaged my goods, beat me, rape me, steal my money, steal my family. It's all good. I'll just sit here. Peacemakers, man. Not what he's saying. And this is another verse that can be taken so far out of context that it's just not funny. But he's really showing it is better off for us to try to make peace than war. There's only going to be two things that happen, peace or war. Now I remember seeing, and I don't know if any of you have seen it, the Rambo 4 movie. It was about Burma. It was back in 2008, I think it was. And there was some edited clips that were set with a DVD, and it was also re-released as a director's cut in 2010. And these Christian, what are they called there? The mercenaries were trying to go into Burma and bring them medicine and Bibles and stuff, and you know, it seemed like a good thing. But the character of Rambo says, you know, you're trying to change what is, and the lady says to him, well, what is? He says that we're like animals. Peace, he says, that's an accident. War is natural. And when I thought about that, I said, you know, Cain killed Abel. Righteous Abel. You know, it's the wicked that is fighting and destroying the righteous. And the righteous should not be looking to do this. Because I was thinking about this today. I was showing me, I was getting kind of upset with some people or things and thoughts I was having. And I was showing me some stuff. And I said, you know, he says, do not repay evil with evil. And I thought, oh, well, slap myself silly. Wowzer. What a statement. So it's better to let peace be, try to make peace, because the only alternative is war, peace, war. You're either going to have peace or you're going to have war. You're going to have chaos, and we know from Acts 17:30 that Yahweh's not the author of confusion, but of peace. So from there, we get a good understanding that Yahweh would rather have peace. And peace in us would be better. No matter when the world is chaotic, you know, when things are going sour and chaos is around, I'm at peace. I don't have any hard feelings. I'm not bitter, envious, strife. It's gone. It's not there. I mean, it was there, years ago and stuff. And sometimes the enemy tries to recall it to the surface. Well, remember, they did you way more than wrong. Yeah, so what? What am I going to do about it? Yahweh will rectify it. Oh, well, that takes care of that then, don't it? Because he will rectify in due season everything. 10. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Persecuted for righteousness. You don't see people that are unjust that's going to be persecuted for unrighteousness. You're not going to see people getting into the kingdom because they were at the house with all the harlots. Let's say the harlot house. You're not going to see people getting in the kingdom like that. It has to be righteousness' sake. When you're persecuted for doing righteousness, he says, yours is the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of the Shemaim. Persecuted. That is what we've seen centuries ago, and we're going to see in the end times, and we're starting to see it now. And Muslims, you mention Yeshua, you could die. You talk to Christians, well, they'll tell you apart. They want to hear about Jesus, Esau, or anything else. But don't tell them about Yeshua HaMashiach. They're going to set you up. They're going to persecute you. They're going to tell all their friends, who is this Yahoo think he is? Tell me about some Yeshua. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear about keeping the Shabbat. They don't want to hear about you shall not covet. Oh, I covet everything. I got Jesus, Esau, and everybody else. And what good does it do them? In the end, when they go over in the pit, they're going to say, this brother over here and this sister over here told you and you about this. Oh, no, they didn't. They're going to say, right here in the book of works here, Brother Jordan told you, Sister Gallant told you, Brother Michelle told you, Sister Rico told you. And what you going to say about that? And they're going to say, they can't say anything. So, when we're persecuted, let us remember who it's for, because we're trying to follow Yeshua. We're following righteousness. If we're following the enemy, it would be good. We wouldn't have a problem. But we wouldn't be entering the kingdom of heaven, that's for sure. Verse 11. Blessed are you when men shall revile you and persecute you and say all manner of evil against you falsely. And they usually forget this last little part of the verse. For my sake, or namesake, as sometimes it's mentioned throughout the scriptures. So you say, who is Yeshua? What was his name? Like Proverbs 30 says, what is his name? What is his son's name? If you can tell. I believe it's 30:31 if I remember correctly. So when we're reviled, when we're persecuted, when you got Christians that say, oh, you got to be in our church to be saved. You got to be doing something like we're doing. You got to be worshiping the pig and the horse and everything else. Remember, that's not the case. It is the people that are persecuted for righteousness' sake that will be blessed with the kingdom of heaven. because they have a pure heart and seek to do only good, only the will of Abba Yahweh. 12. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. In other words, here's a wake-up call. Remember, they didn't treat the prophets any good. Don't expect any special treatment for you. So the prophets got mistreated. Don't think you're any better than the prophets. And again, I always come back to it always shows me these televangelists. We need your money. We need a new Learjet. We need this. We need that. How about we need to hear some truth? That was the first thought that comes through my mind. How about some truth for a change? We need to hear some truth. That would be very important. But instead, they've got an ulterior motive. So remember, our reward is great. And the prophets were mistreated and done way more than wrong. And don't expect we'll get any better treatment. Fortunately, some points of time have been better for others. But as we wind on down towards the end, that will certainly change. Especially when the son of perdition is brought forth and revealed. Then you'll see a massive change. Let's take a look at John 15:18. John 15:18. John 15:18. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. So again, they didn't treat the prophets any good before us. They didn't treat Yeshua good before us. Do we think that we're going to get some extra special red carpet, limo, Learjet type of treatment? No. The people who do, you kind of have to be suspect of that, don't you? Because when you're really preaching an undefiled Besorah, good news, it's not popular. It's really not. And for those who are making a mint off from preaching a few verses taken away out of context, it is so easy for people to think, oh, they got jets, they got a stadium, a church the size of a stadium. People look at it carnally. We, as believers and followers of Yeshua HaMashiach, must look at this thing in a spiritual sense, just as Yeshua told us and showed us, and just as Yahweh wants us to do. Overlook the physical. Get out of the carnal mind. The reward in heaven, if we overcome the evil in this world, then the reward is great. If we do good to all, especially the household of faith, as it says in Ephesians, I think 4:11 off the top of my head. So Matthew, let me see here. Let me bounce ahead just a little bit. Drop down to verse 44. Matthew 5:44. Bounce down for just a moment. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. Now you may say, why would I want to do that? It's much easier just to say, yeah, send them down some fire. Couldn't you do that? It'd be so much easier on me. You just light them right up. It would be. But where would the power of Yah be shown through us? We're to be a light to the world. His light. How you going to show a light to the world if it's hidden under a bed, hidden under a wool blanket or something? It wouldn't be shown, would it? That you may be the children of your Father, which is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. So remember, we're the light of the world. How is he going to have his light shine through us if we're asking him to stamp this thing out? It would be a conflict of interest, so to speak, or a double negative. It wouldn't work to Yahweh's will, because he says, I send you to a light in a darkened world. Excuse me. So we're to show who we are. We're to show the love of Yahweh, the peace of Yahweh that surpasses all understanding. We're to show these characteristics. We're to live it and live by it. And that's the royal priesthood, is to have these 9 characteristics. And to do so shows the light. Now let's finish this thing up here. And we're working on the closing here. 13. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing, but to be thrown down, and trampled underfoot by men. Salt gives a little zip, gives flavor, gives a taste, gives it a little bit of little zap, a little bite on the tongue. It really sends some flavor into it. But Yeshua is showing us that if we lose our flavor, if we lose the salt, we lose the taste, we lose the zeal, we lose the seasoning, how you going to fix it? How you going to season it? When salt loses its saltiness, how you going to re-salt the salt? How are you going to re-season it? This is problematic. So we need to think, whoa, I must not lose my seasoning, my salt, my flavor. For if I do, I'll be going in the pit, over in the abyss, the lake of fire. Why would I want that? 14. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Indeed, indeed, indeed. And so, we're the light of the world, his children, his followers. As we've studied over the recent weeks, we are his assembly, we are his bride, we are Israel, we are his sheep, we are his children. We are the ones who follow him earnestly and seek after him earnestly. We as believers and followers of Yeshua HaMashiach are the light of the world, and the light should shine forth from us because we have Yahweh in us, and we are obedient by doing the will of Yahweh Elohim. This is what's so important, by living by every word, as Matthew 4:4 says. May not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah. Every word we're to live by. Not a little here, not a little there, but understanding these 9 characteristics. Like I said before, some people call them the 9 blessings of Messiah. However, it's more of who will be blessed. And if you understand, if you got the right attributes, the right characteristics, the right personality, you will have this blessing. And that's the way that it is there. So we do. So we want to remember that, seek that steadfastly, not losing the salt, not trying to hide the light, because we're the light on a hill. When you see a light on a hill or the side of a mountain or the top of a mountain here, like up here where I live in the Adirondacks, you see that? You can see that thing for miles if you're on the right spot. And if it's on a hill just above the valley, boy, you'll see that for miles and miles. And that's certainly, I can relate to that living in mountainous terrain. And that's very important to understand that we're not going to hide. It's easy to want to stick our heads in a hole or in the sand like an ostrich, hope to pull it out and see, oh, there you are, Yeshua. But in the meantime, we must do like this. We must do just like this. Blessed are the distressed, the beggars, or the poor of spirit. Blessed are they that mourn, those who, again, are in distress, those who seek Yahweh, those who need to be comforted. The feeling or act of. So these are the things we need to live by. Blessed are the meek. Blessed they who hunger and thirst after righteousness. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the pure of mind. Blessed are the shalom makers. For blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are those who rather make peace than war. Blessed are the ones who are persecuted for righteousness. There is no righteousness except following the commandments of Yahweh Elohim. I don't care you keep the speed limit. I don't care you keep the millions of laws of man. That ain't going to get you into the kingdom. It's really not. You can keep all that. But a righteous life is living according to the commandments of Yahweh Elohim. And blessed are those who are persecuted for doing the righteous deeds. Blessed are you when people revile and persecute you for all kinds of evil, falsely, for the sake of Yeshua HaMashiach. Those are the attributes, those are the characteristics that we need to live by as the royal priesthood. The sacerdotal order is who we are, as we discovered some weeks ago. So now, as I say a closing prayer, Yahweh, we just ask and pray that these words will gravitate to those who need to hear them, and we just ask and pray that you would add an understanding unto the hearing of these words and of your scripture. And we just thank you and praise you for this night. And everybody that's here with us, we ask and pray that you would touch everyone that's on our prayer list. Guide, heal, strengthen, anoint, and bless them in all the ways that they need. And Father, we thank you and praise you for all that you do, for your Son, your Shabbat, and all that you bestow upon us. And we ask this in Yeshua HaMashiach's precious, holy, mighty name. So it is said, so let it be done.